Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything on Rebel Hill with the South Greene football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Shawn Jones. Coach,
morning.
How are we doing today?
Doing great. A little cool this morning. You see the attire. You know, we went cold weather attire because we're going to the morning. But it looks like the weather's going to change. I think next Thursday is going to be 59 is the high. So I've already looked at the forecast in the future. So we get the long sleeves out now.
Breaking out the pants going forward on Friday night.
Oh yeah, now. exactly. I break them out anyway every Friday night. We try to wear pants, but a little bit more long sleeve and stuff. So we're good to go. I
see you have a crew neck on today, but still shoeless as always.
Well, I didn't wear socks out because the grass is wet. We practice in the morning, and I just had I got a pair of waterproof shoes and no socks. But I will have my flip flops back on when we leave out of here. So because it still ain't totally non-flip-flop weather, but it's getting close.
What is non-flip-flop weather?
Well, if I could, I'd go flip-flops year-round. But
understandable.
But when my toes get cold and of a morning, then it's non-flip-flop weather. So that ain't happened yet. I wore flip-flops to work this morning to practice. I'll have them on all day, and so it's still probably give me another couple weeks before I'll be in shoes.
Gotcha. Let's talk about a win on Friday night. Very gutsy win by the Rebels on Friday night when the odds were stacked against you, when everything had seemed like it had gone wrong up to that point. You walk into Friday night, take a 7-0 lead, allow them to score 17 straight, and then score 11 in the fourth to overcome that deficit and pick up a win in Seymour. Talk about how fantastic of a comeback that was and how great of a win it was to leave that field on Friday night.
Well, you know, those kind of wins you hope, you don't want to say turn your season around, but kind of kickstart you going. Because, you know, we feel that we haven't played a complete game all year, still haven't. So you hope those kind of games right there kickstart your boys, because I mean we were dead from get go, no excuses. You know say that the guys did a lot of stuff last week, and we were gassed in the first quarter, and I really felt like lucky to have a lead 7-0 at halftime, and if it wasn't for the couple miscues on special teams with the punt block, and then we snapped one over the head, you know, feel like they may not have scored really. So that was big, but we got down, and at that time we was down 10. We wasn't. I think some of the boys were giving up, and I was like, I wasn't giving up, but I was like, hey, we're going to have to just throw the ball here, see what happens, and boom, next thing you know, we're in the game. And I told my coaches, we talked about it all week. The 2-point conversion there at the end, I'd already decided when we got the ball back, I wasn't going to say nothing to them. I already decided that's what we was going to do. Just trying to figure out what kind of play we was going to run, because we really hadn't really worked on 2-point plays much this year. I mean, we can run our offense, but the thing about that is, to me, on a 2-point play like that to win a game, you got to have a little bit of surprise. So that's why that happened there. And then we got the big interception late by Simon and a little controversy to me there at the end, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to that point. But big win by our guys. Like I say, we really just gutted that one out, and it was a big win for us this season. And like I say, hopefully it propels us for the rest of the year.
It wouldn't be a win at Seymour if you didn't pull a trick play out of your playbook, and I don't think you pulled this one out of your playbook. From what you told Tate the other night, you kind of drew it up on the spot. Is that what I was?
Well,
is that what I heard?
I'd run that probably 10 years ago. We beat South Greene one year to go 1-9, and we'd run that play. And all the way down the field, because I know you got to get some kind of deception in it. And I was like, hey, this is the easiest thing to run. So I'm thinking, I said, hey, we'll just put him under center. I'll move Tripp up there to the H because he's our fullback. We'll pick it back. We'll pitch it back there to Nash. And we'll run a post corner with Trey, and I was like, he'll be wide open. And so, and also that's the easiest thing to, when you're trying to fix just something like that, the easiest thing to do. And what was crazy, I had one more time out, and I said, I'm going to call it. But what got me is, first we thought it was a celebration penalty, but it really wasn't. The referees that night was Susan, a guy come under him, Susan brought his arm up with the ball and hit the guy in the head, and they called a personal foul, which should have been. So I'm thinking, I was upset. I was like, I hadn't even told the guys we was going to run a 2-point play. I was like, well, they're going to move the ball back, and we're going to kick a 30-40 yard extra point. Now, our kicker can do it. Brant can do it, but I was like, I was totally shocked when they decided to get a kickoff. So, ball snap, we pitch it back there to Nash, and they blow the whistle. They're offsides. Well, they move it up the half-yard line. Coach Case is hollering, we need another play. I don't have enough timeout. I was like, we ain't going to run another play, we'll run this one. And I'll be danged if we don't. And when Nash comes out there, if you watch the film, Trey was wide open early, and Nash kind of looked like he was about to fall. And, of course, then Trey comes on back behind the end zone, and It works. And, Coach Burns is kind of funny. When we beat him 2 years ago, we had worked on that play. But it was time of game. I said, let's run a trick play. And Coach Burns said, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. And it did. And my little inside joke is on JV is my favorite thing to do because it's JV, and I'll get out there and Coach Burns will be calling plays, and I'll call timeouts. And he said, let's run this. And I'll draw it up, so to speak. And usually it works. So it drives Coach Burns nuts because I'll draw something up in a JV game and it works. So it just worked the night. I mean, it was something where, and we kind of, Coach Case put a little deception in it. He ran our kicker out there, and they're hollering they're going to kick it, and right at the last minute, Brant comes running off, and we run out there and we set up for the big play. And then, so it was huge. Then we get the interception. But, the end of the game was crazy. They were upset at us, their fans were upset at us, but, heck, it was the referee's fault. They have 2 timeouts a minute 54. Referee tells me, hey, all you got to do is take knees. And we knew we had enough time. Well, on second down, they knock Trey's helmet off. Should have been a 15-yard penalty. Well, if it ain't a 15-yard penalty, when they send Trey out, they should have started the clock, and they didn't. They said, Coach, it's your fault. Why is it our fault? You knocked her helmet off. So by the clock not starting, they had one more timeout. It's 4th down and 13. We tried, we ran a little naked bootleg there, and we got 4 seconds. And I told their coach afterwards, they kind of started the scuffle. They're 0 for 22 now in their last 22 games. And I said, I understand your frustration. But, and I told our guys, we learned from it. Just come to the sideline. We done the worst thing you could do that much. We just snatched defeat from them because it, looked like they're going to get their first win this year, first win in over 2 years. So a little lesson there. And then it wasn't bad. It was just some pushing and shoving. But and it could have got bad, but it didn't. Everybody got calmed down. So, but it was just one of those things where, again, if they start the clock, we're good to go, and we're not even in that situation. But a huge win, like I say, going down there to a 4A school and getting another win against 4A school was big for us.
A unusual win at that too. How things transpired at the end, but even though they were able to score 17 points, it sounded like a lot of it was off of your mistakes, and your offense still ran the ball, still passed the ball really well. Looking at the stat sheet, Jacob Susong, 15 of 18. One of his better nights. You've seen him have great stat lines like that where he'll have only 3, 4, 5 incompletions, but it's usually when he's only passing 9, 10, 11 times a game when you're playing teams like Cumberland Gap whenever you're beating them by 6 or 7 scores or possessions. But against Seymour, when it's a 1-score ball game, for him to go 15 of 18 for 209 yards and have a passing and rushing touchdown, I mean, that's key. We talk about how key quarterback play is, but to do that well against a team that you have to claw from behind from, it showed that he's got what it takes to be able to be that leader on Friday night like we've always known he's been.
Oh, yeah, and he still made a few mistakes, but, I mean, it's what people do. Players do that, and you good players do that. But the run game, their defense had a lot to do with it. They played really well up front. It started out, our start right tackle was gone all last week, didn't even play because of the floods around here. They had to go, to Knoxville and do some stuff, and that was fine. But the starting right tackle in his place goes down to play 2. And then we had to throw another kid out there. Done a really good job, but they did some stuff up front that confused us. So we didn't rush like we should. But Jacob done well throwing the ball. And like I say, just there at the end, it's like for about 3 quarters. We're trudging along there, and then all of a sudden, the 4th quarter, we decided it's ready to play. Trey made the play of the night. You don't see it, but it's a one-handed catch he makes on the drive when we're down 10. And actually, what had happened there, they're going in. It's 4th down and 1. And they fumble the ball. If they get a first down there, there's I think about 4 minutes to go in the game, 4 or 5 minutes to go in the game. The ball game's probably over. So that was a big point in the game. We got a turnover there, and the next play Trey goes with the big long catch, and then of course the big interception by Simon was huge. And Simon had a good night on defense. You don't see that in the newspaper. He had a breakup on the first drive in the end zone. It was 1st and goal, and on 4th down he had a big breakup, had a big catch on offense, and then had that interception. So big game from our sophomore there. So different people stood up and balled out the other night. So it was again a big win for us.
I wanted to talk about a few more offensive stats, but I feel like with how you turned that conversation into defense right there, I want to talk about the other turnovers you forced, because of course you had that interception from Simon Burns, but you also had an interception from Zeke Rader and a fumble recovery from Jacob Susong earlier in the game too. And to be able to hold them to 17 points and win that game, to be able to stop them on 4th and 1, stop them on 4th and goal, you had 3 other turnovers too. I mean, we've talked about how solid the defense has played all year, but I think you really put that to an emphatic point on Friday night, showing how you were able to stand tall on 2 situations on 4th down and force 3 crucial turnovers that if they aren't forced, then it could have been a completely different ball game.
Oh yeah, if they score on that first drive is huge right there, because that's momentum, and it was really big for us. We come out of the hole. Actually, when we stopped them, we went on a 10-minute drive and didn't score. And that was the thing. You watch the NFL and stuff, and they talk about empty drives. We had a few of those. We had the turnovers and couldn't score. Different things happen, and stuff happens. So it was big for a defense to play like that, because if they don't play like that, they may beat us by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So it was big. Defense played well all year, and we got to keep doing that. We're hitting our stretch here. These conference games, these last 4 games of the season, we got 4 huge conference games. Defense is going to have to step it up. And I always say, they're the hidden gem. To me, defense wins ball games, wins championships. I believe in that. I've always believed in that. The offense is going to get their name in the paper, and everybody's going to talk about your offense, but your defense, that side of the ball. And again, what's crazy about it, our kids are playing both ways. So that's what's, I guess you'd say cool about it, that, those guys are out there on the defensive side of the ball, making things happen. But we're going to have to play well for the rest of the year.
Even when fatigued, they're still balling out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you got to do on the defensive side of the ball.
And to cap it off, too, we talked about Nash Rader and Trey Gentry's terrific 2-point play. Other than that, Nash Rader, 5 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown on offense. Trey Gentry, 5 receptions, 82 yards on offense. They accounted for 182 of Jacob Soussaint's 209 yards. Nash had that 32-yard receiving touchdown, which was your first of the game. And then Trey Gentry, who also had that diving catch to really save the game. And one more thing I have down, too. We've talked about him, I think, every interview now, and I'd like to continue that trend. Brant Wilhoit, 32-yard field goal. Without that field goal, you could argue that you're not in the game, because without him being on the field and without him being able to kick that field goal from 32 yards out, then you potentially have to go for it on 4th down, potentially don't get it, and then have to play harder in the 4th quarter to try to come back and win that game. So huge 32-yard field goal to cut that down from 1 score when you were trailing by 10 in the 4th. Yeah,
that even last year, Brand had just started. He was a sophomore last year. We went 4th down. But this year, I totally knew that once 4th down come, we bring Brand in, and it was true. I mean, he had plenty of leg on that one. So that's big having Brant this year, to know that we get a certain yardage, we get inside a certain yard line, that we're going to kick it this year, and give him an opportunity. And actually, that was his first official high school field goal.
Okay.
He had the big one in the Jamboree, and he's kicked all the extra points, but that's the first one that he's made. So that was big too. That's his first field goal. And that's the thing about it. That's big for high school. You can say 32-yarder. That's big for a high school kid.
It is.
Because like I say, if they move the ball back on the extra point, he's kicking a 34-yarder. We already figured that out. And you never know. If they shank it, they win 16-15 if we can't get the ball back on all sides. So that was a huge deal right there with him making that field goal, or making that field goal there to get us within 7, and then we get to turn over and have the opportunity to win a ball game.
Last thing I'll talk about with the Seymour game also is, I didn't mention it at the beginning and I failed to, but I can't go without mentioning how we talked about the floods last week and how it had affected the community, and how it was an unusual week leading up to where you were able to practice, but you didn't have every man from the team at practice. You had some that were missing. A lot of times during the day they were helping out with debris and such like that, and then they were coming to practice later on in the day. You were tired going into Friday night. When the odds seemed like they were stacked against you, they pulled together, got a win for the community that I think wanted a win to kind of heal things a little bit, because we talked about last week how sports heal things in times like that. And to be able to get that come from behind victory, I think was so much sweeter, not only for the community, but for you all too.
Oh yeah, it was, because, we talk about sports all the time, especially football. And I'd argue this with anybody. Football is the one sport that's more prepares you for life. I mean, there's just everything they can throw at you, that will prepare you for life. And that's what I tell these guys. Majority of them across the nation ain't gonna go play college ball or professional, but it's just so many life lessons that football can teach you. And really what we went through last week, and then kind of went through the same thing during the game. Some of the emotions and stuff that you had to deal with. And so it was huge to come out for the South Greene community, really all Greene County. Our cheerleaders did a great job with their sign. It was just talking about one strong, and they had all the mascots of all the schools. I thought that's pretty cool, because that's what in times like this, I told you to check it out game. During the game, we hate them. But afterwards, we're close together. We're trying to, make sure they've got food and water and all the schools. And Greenville coach gave me a call and see if we need anything. So, those kind of times, your community. But then it's kind of crazy when Friday night lights come on, or in the gym, the basketball light come on. We're back to not liking each other just for that little bit. To me, that's what's cool about sports. You can be friends and hang out afterwards, but during that game, you're your big time rivals, and so to me that's the cool part about sports.
It's a big time win. Also big to be able to show that you can come from behind. I think last year the first time we had seen you tested was in the game that's coming up next with Happy Valley,
right.
and you weren't able to come from behind in that one. You were able to do it this week in Seymour. So looking like you can be able to show teams now, like, hey, we're not the team that's going to beat everybody, and then once we get behind, we just kind of lay down and we don't know how to respond to that. You show teams now, hey, we know how to respond when we have 10-point fourth quarter deficits. Looking to go into this week with a revenge game against Happy Valley
That's
after
right.
what happened last year. You have to travel there this year instead of hosting it here on Rebel Hill. But before we talk about that, we need to get a word from our sponsors first. So we'll be right back in just a minute to talk about that, so don't go anywhere and stay tuned. We'll be right back here on Grassroots Media.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee. For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything on Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with Rebels head coach Shawn Jones. So you got Happy Valley this week. As I said right before we cut the break, you can kind of label it as a revenge game after what happened last year. They took your O last year whenever you were undefeated up to that point in the season. Controversial game last year. I know there were two plays that you can look at last year that you can still debate today whether the play should have been stopped right there or whether the flag should have been thrown. But I would like to say all that's behind us now, but when you're going into the game the next year, of course, that's all still going to weigh on your mind. You're going into their house. They took the win from you in your house last year. You're looking to do the same in their house this year. What do you expect on Friday night when you play Happy Valley?
Well, first thing, it's the best team we've seen all year. You know,
Okay.
I mean, even Crockett. I mean, they are. You know, they're just a hard-nosed football team. They've lost a few players before the season even started. You know, and they've just rallied. You know, they have not lost a regular season game since starting 0-3 last year. So that's, you know, we worked on that in practice this week, and you know, and the thing of it is, you know, we feel if Happy Valley wins this one, they're going to win the conference. You know, so we've still got, you know, tough games left. I mean, this next 4 games, you know, we got them, Eagleton, Hampton, and them, Eagleton, West Greene, and Hampton left. And I was like, dang, boys. You know, it's got to start with Happy Valley. If we want a chance to win the conference, we got to beat them. Because, again, they've already got what we feel the 2 better teams with us up there, Eagleton out of the way, and Hampton already beat them, so they're 2-0. And if they beat us, you know, it's pretty much foregone conclusion they're going to win the conference. So it's huge for us in that aspect. And that's kind of what we're looking at. You know, yeah, you got some revenge on your mind because they got us last year, but the revenge part is that's what put us on the road in the playoffs. You know, we got beat at Hampton, and them. That's what put us on the road, and we don't want to do that this year. So there's the revenge part, not necessarily our undefeated record. You know, fans and players may like that. As a coach, that ain't no big deal to me. It's the part that they put us on the road in playoffs. So that's the revenge we're looking for.
And that's one thing that I was going to mention next that you kind of led into is this is arguably, and like you said, your most important game up to this date. You're playing the team that a lot of people probably expect to win the conference right now.
Now they do, yeah. Early on it wasn't, you know, but now everybody expects them to win. You know, and nobody really expects us to go up there and win Friday night, and that's great. You know, all Carter County thinks it's going to be Happy Valley, and that's great. You know, I'm sure people here in Greene County think it's going to be Happy Valley, but hey, you know, that's why you play the game. You know, and we're going to prepare this week. We have prepared so far this week, and I think we'll be ready to play.
Do you kind of accept that underdog mentality too when you're going into a game like that? Do Do you kind of like that mentality?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, the thing of it is sometimes, you know, like last year going in this game, I think we were a little overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were undefeated, and you watched them on film last year, like, oh, we go burn beat them, and they just wore us out up here. But again, you know, you look at that game, it was raining. We only gave up 14 points before overtime. And Coach Case talked about that this week, and he's right. You know, you give up 14 points with what we do on offense, you expect to win a ball game, but last year and this year. So we felt like we go up there and just give up 14 points this week. We have a real good chance to win that ball game. So that's what we're looking for. But you know we got to go up there. You know, it's always a battle. You know, the year we went undefeated, we beat them 7. 2 years before that, we went up there and got shut out. We felt like we had a really good team. We felt like we had a better team than they did, and they beat us 25-0. So you know, it's going to be a tough battle. They're well coached. But like I say, it's a challenge that our coaching staff and our players gladly accept.
I'll go ahead and mention it before I forget it, and this is a mouthful, but your all's game is our Corner Pond Friday Night Lights and McAfee PLLC and Tommy's Plumbing Game of the Week. That's a lot to say.
That's a lot to say.
But I'll be there. Grassroots Media will be there, so we'll be broadcasting that game. If you can't make it out to it, check out our Facebook and YouTube pages, and you can follow along and watch that game. But we knew what they did last year. They lined it up and they ran at you the entire game. They've lost that big running back, but do you expect the same this year? Do you expect them just to grind it and run it the whole entire game?
They've got another fullback. It's a sophomore, not as big as the kid last year, but the one that really scares us is their quarterback. He's a fast kid. And actually, I think it's the third guy that would play quarterback for him. But he's probably the best thing for him. He's a speedster. He's a track guy. So that we feel like we got to stop number 6 or quarterback. But they're going to do the same stuff they did last year, but maybe just run 6 a little bit more. But so that's a run game. I think we've looked at all the games we've got film for, the 2 games we got, and then we've looked at their stats. I think they've only thrown it like 8 times all year. That's all. The whole season.
Top team.
So they've only thrown it 8 times. So we got to stop the run. They may throw out some weaknesses this week, and hey, if they beat us throwing the ball, they beat us throwing the ball because we got to stop the run. We know that's what they're going to do. They're going to be so run heavy. But again, we'll be prepared for it. Like I say, we played pretty well last year. As like I said, held them in 14 and 3rd and 18. If we don't get a personal foul down here, and then on the next punt where they fake it, hey, it's a different ball game. So that was big last year because we felt like we played pretty well defensively. So again, defense is going to have to step it up. But again, our offensive defensive coaches, kind of get an argument every week. Well, defensive guys say, hey, you score more than them, we win. And then our offensive guys say, hey, if they don't score, they don't win. So it's one of those things where I hope both things happen this week, where if they don't score, they don't win, and then we score more than they do.
Side note, I love the ringtone.
Oh, thank you
it's
very
fitting
much.
the October vibe very well right now.
Yeah, thank you about that.
How do you expect their defense to kind of scheme up against you also? Because so far this year, like you had just kind of alluded to, the offense has done really, really well. Jacob Susong's filled those shoes as that leader and that quarterback that you want him to be. You've got Nash Rader and Trip Neese back there in the backfield. And then you've got Trey Gentry now, who's healed up from his injury and back to how we expect him to play with 82 yards last week and the game-saving play. So how do you expect them to scheme up against your offense where you have so many weapons out there?
Well, they do a good job defensively, and that's one thing that they've always done to us is they're going to stop a run. I mean, we know going in that's what they're going to stop. Feel like we're going to have to throw the ball some to maybe open up the run game. But if we just sell out on the run, they're going to be just like Hampton. They're going to sell out. So again, they're going to be up there. Going to have a 5-man front sometimes. Going to have a 4-man front and send different people. But we feel like they're going to sell out to stop our run because we got a good run game. I think Nash has got over 650 yards already on the season, and then got Tripp back there, and so we're going to have to do some different things this week. And again, I said in practice this week, you take every offensive play we got. It does not matter what play you run if you don't execute. So that's what we've really tried to stress this week, guys. It don't matter what we run against them. If we don't execute, we don't do well. But if we execute, we feel like we can move the ball and do some stuff this week. But again, it's going to be a challenge. They got a great defense, got a great defensive coordinator that's been up there for a while. Coach Hyder does a great job with their defense, but again, like I said, it's a challenge. These kind of games, what you love as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You step up. Last few years we were up there at the top. Fighting for the conference championship. Here we go again. It looks like still could be Hampton and Eagleton. They've got one loss, but if we beat Happy Valley, all right, then they're expecting one of them teams to beat us. So it's still wide open, and so it's going to be some tough games. And even West Greene, they're up there with one loss, and if we start beating up on each other, you don't know what's going to happen. But again, if we take care of ourselves and win out, we're going to win the conference, and that's what but it starts this week. We got to go 1-0.
Absolutely, and to be able to go 1-0, you have 3 keys to the game. that you need to carry out in order to be successful and get that win? What are they this week against Happy Valley?
This week we got to play well run defense. All right, we got to make sure that we know where 6 and the fullback is, and we take care of everything there. We got to win a turnover battle like we always do, and we can't have empty possessions. All right, we got to go score when we get the opportunity, and if we do that, we'll win the ball game.
It'll be a fun game this week. Personally, for me, it's probably the most fun game to look at on our schedule within Greene County this week, with what happened last year and the implications that it has in the conference standings. But unless there's anything else you'd like to add, Coach, I think that's all I've got for you this week.
That's it. Thank you very much.
The Cowboys picked up a win last week, too.
It was ugly. We're going to talk about that. They start playing well. We're going to leave it alone.
Okay.
We don't want to talk about the Vols either.
I wasn't going to mention that either. But, Coach, that's all I've got for you
thanks.
this week. Thank you once again. Thanks. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show. We look forward to seeing you all next time here on Grassroots Media.